Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jack and Joe Show, sponsored by BetMate. Jack, I'm not even going to ask how you're doing after our wonderful Sunday. All right, I am. How are you? And are you as happy as I am with Fulham 7th in the Premier League? It's 7th heaven.
Yes, a different type of seventh heaven to what we've had last season, of
Yeah, very
course.
different.
Joe, honestly, I'm on top of the world at the moment, and I couldn't be happier for what's going on at the moment. I thought Sunday, I was thinking about this about half an hour ago. In terms of the context of my experience of the game, it was one of my favourite aways I've ever done, ever. Genuinely, it
Wow.
was brilliant. It was just such good vibes. And how did you consume the game?
I consumed the game via stream
Hmm.
in London and enjoyed every second of it. Even though I wasn't there, I wish I was when the game kicked off because it seemed like a great atmosphere. It always is good at Leeds, I
Mm.
feel. And it makes it that much better when the home crowd's really up for it. And maybe this is my sort of Fulham nature coming through, that I'm a bit of a pessimist at times when it comes to things like a team needing a win or a team under pressure. I felt it for the Villa game, even though I was very confident that we'd win. There was something niggling in the back of my mind, making me think, "Oh, is this when they turn up?" And I had it for Sunday, and I thought we were going to draw the game, and I'd have snapped your hand off for a draw because
Mm.
I tweeted it. I always say it: win your home games, draw your away games. You'll stay up if you do that against the other 14 teams, even the other 13 because we're one of the 14.
Mm.
Um, it was a bonus, one hell of a bonus, and a fully deserved win too. I think we should probably start with team news, where we had, was it two changes? We had Tosin coming in for Diop, and we had
Wilson.
Wilson starting ahead of not Bobby, ahead of Cabano, having a nightmare pronouncing the team. Um, my initial reaction, Jack, was shock at the Diop dropping. We don't know if there's an injury related or 3 games in a week, whatever. Good to see Tosin back, nevertheless. And
Mm.
Wilson, I'm sure you agree with me, it was a very nice surprise to see him start.
Yeah, I called for him to start against Villa, but maybe it was slightly too early for him. Of course, we haven't spoken on Jack and Joe show since we beat Villa,
Of
so that's
course.
2 victories we can sort of touch on. But let's start with Leeds, just because it's the more recent one. When the team news came in, I was in an Uber, pretty pretty half cut, and so I didn't really process what had happened in terms of the team news and going, oh, well, that's an interesting change. I was like, 11 players are playing, happy days. Mitro's there. That's I'm glad. Um, but yeah, no, looking back on it, great to see Wilson, and yeah, I don't think Diop necessarily did anything wrong to be dropped against Villa. I thought he had a really good game. Like, we kept a clean sheet, so I was actually quite surprised in retrospect to see that Tosin came in. Ream's keeping his place. He's
Yeah.
doing really well. And he was phenomenal at the weekend. Um, so I do wonder why Tosin came in, but for the Rodrigo goal, a lot of not much has been made of the defending because obviously we won the game.
Yeah.
But did he lose his bearings? Because I would have thought that was quite an easy win against Rodrigo, who's obviously he's taller than Rodrigo. He just got the wrong side. Maybe he didn't know where the ball was, didn't know where the goal was, and he nipped in and scored. Bit of a weird one to concede. Obviously,
Yeah.
when Robertson obviously lost out in that battle with Harrison, it was danger. It was danger. And the second phase, really, they scored from it. But really happy with the team and the way in which we are rotating and still getting results. And it's just a really good time to be a Fulham fan at the moment, Joe. So obviously, your thoughts on that goal, Rodrigo, and then how he responded.
Yeah. So the goal, there's an account that I follow, and I referenced it before when I said the other 14, aptly named the other 14 on
Yeah, brilliant
Twitter.
page.
Really brilliant page. They post stats after every game, just avoiding the typical top six so that you can see more realistic stats for each team. And they released the heading duel success, the aerial duel success stats today. Tosin won 7 out of 7 aerial duels on
Mm.
Sunday, which is fantastic. And the reasoning for that is because he didn't contest that one, because he just decided not to jump.
Yeah.
And it was a bit bizarre. And we can sort of laugh about it now, but it was a key moment in the game, and I was quite annoyed at him for that. It was like they were both looking at the ball spinning in the air after a great block from Tim Ream to block
Mm.
Harrison's shot. Um, And he just sort of looked around for a bit. And then by the time he was about to react, it was too late. Disappointing goal. But the reaction was fantastic. We'd started well before that with the Reed shot that was cleared off the line, which I'd forgotten about until I saw the highlights. It felt like a lifetime before the Leeds goal. Mitrovic with one of our simplest goals from a corner there'll ever be. Great delivery again by Andreas Pereira. But I'm so confident of us from set pieces at the moment. I can't remember a player at Fulham that is so consistently good at delivering dead balls like Pereira is. I'm shocked if there's a bad one, put it that way. And, you know, that was not the case a few seasons ago. Willian, when he does it as well, as we saw for Tosin's goal at Forest, is also a very high standard. Wilson can chip in. Harrison Reed can chip in. There's loads of players, and it's such an asset to have. And then I think it's fair to say that after that, Jack, we definitely finished the half stronger. But the second half definitely started with the momentum swinging slightly to Leeds. And for me, that is where the game was won, when we didn't concede and we had a lot of pressure thrown at us. And I was very proud of them for basically getting through it.
We rode a storm, and it was actually one of the most dangerous storms we've had to ride or had to experience so far this season. But I'd put this to you, Joe. I would say that Leeds had 4 or 5 chances. But I think that most of them, if not all of them, maybe the Bamford clean through one, but Leno comes out so quickly to charge it down. They're all half chances.
Yeah.
They're not like big ones. I think the one that didn't even make the match today highlights package, it did make the extended ones on Sky, was the Aronson one where he put it over the bar, and really clever finish, and it actually almost went in the top corner but went over. And then again, there were a few like really dangerous crosses into Bamford, which Tosin dealt with. Leeds really put us under pressure in that second half, and we just dealt with it brilliantly, albeit either defender or Leno or just good play, just good defensive play. And I'm really impressed. A couple of things I just wanted to touch on in the first half. First of all, the Mitrovic goal, go all the way back to pre-season where we played Benfica and Estoril, and we scored the exact same goals. Front post header. And it's a trend. We're seeing it. And it's obviously something we've worked on, something that Leeds obviously must have looked at, because I remember hearing Jesse Marsh's post-match, and he said that they worked on that and they conceded a really sloppy goal for our first. And also the Andreas Pereira clean through chance. Massive chance. And you know what? He could have squared it to Wilson. He could have done a very Andreas Pereira thing and tried to go around the keeper, which I think he would have been able to do and score.
Yeah.
And he just made it way too obvious where he was going, and probably didn't get his head in the right place by the time he took the shot. It all happened really, really fast. But like we saw against Villa, when we had that breakaway and all the players running, just incredible counter-attacking presence we've got. The ability to counter-attack in this team is so underrated. And actually, like, Mitrovic is not the quickest, but he's still got a bit of pace about him. And he's still one of those guys gunning forward. Obviously, he's the forward player. Sorry, I completely went off a tangent now. I'm forgetting where. Okay, so we rode the storm.
Yeah.
And then we went on to win the game. And it's poetic. It's beautiful. And obviously, we had a couple of chances before we scored the second goal. Paulinho arriving late in the box. Mitrovic as well. They defended quite well, apart from when it came to that set piece in the second phase. And you said earlier, you haven't seen a bad ball from Pereira. I would argue that corner wasn't that great, because it was headed away at the front post. And then it, of course, fell to Willian, to Pereira, and then back in. Joe, the amount of goals we're getting from set pieces is truly remarkable.
Let's just think about the last 3 games, which were unbeaten in, 7 points, which is fantastic. I said I wanted minimum 5. We've exceeded that. First goal against Bournemouth, corner. First goal against Villa from a corner. And the first goal yesterday, corner. And then the second goal, kind of from a corner. Third goal from a throw. I mean, I know it's not necessarily a set piece, but let's face it, we've clearly got these moves that are lined up, no matter what the situation is, where we can create. And the pattern of the game was the same as it was against Forest, where I think the scoreline actually flatters the opposition, where the Forest game was not a 3-2 game. The Leeds game wasn't a 3-2 game. We could have won by more. the late goals for both. So they've both taken the lead against the run of play. We've equalised. We've gone 2-1 up. We've gone 3-1 up. They've got a scrappy goal back at the end, both of which could have been avoided, although it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. We could have won both 3-0 on another day very easily or more. We were very good. I think that the main positive for me from this game, aside from just winning and being in 7th place and being unbeaten in 3 and just on an upward trajectory, is the fact that once again, when we've gone behind, we don't let it get us down. And I think this is the main difference to me from last time we were up. Don't know if it's a Scott Parker thing. Don't know if it's a mentality thing. Don't know if it's just the players we had thing where we weren't that equipped to chasing games. It was more about going 1-0 up and then just trying to contain them with the personnel we had and the tactics we had at the time. But when we went 1-0 down last time out 2 seasons ago, for me, that was it. There was no
way
hope.
back.
There was no way back. And it was a case of heads dropped in the team as well. They believed that. And I can't really think of occasions when we went behind and got back in it. I remember away to West Brom, we went 2-1 down, ended up drawing, but it was still not the most positive result because we needed to win that game. With this Fulham team, if we're 1-0 down with 15 minutes left, I'm not thinking that we're going to lose it. I'm thinking there's still a way back into this game that we can win it because we can create goals out of nothing. Harrison Reed, I would love to come on to now because
yes,
for me, these are 2 of his finest performances in a Fulham shirt simultaneously. Ironically, Jack, after the Bournemouth game, where a few people, including myself, were considering, is he the person to drop out for Tom Cairney? Because he got subbed at half-time. Interestingly, he spoke about this after the game to Amazon Prime on Thursday night, saying he had to prove something. He certainly did, not just his goal on Thursday, but his overall performance. Going forward in particular, we know he's always defensively sound. But Jack, for me, this is one of his best attacking performances ever for Fulham on Sunday.
I love him. I absolutely love him. We speak about him quite often on this show, but let's talk about individual performances. Against Bournemouth, he wasn't great brought off at halftime. He has been brought off quite a few times this season. I think he's a mentality monster in the way in which he's responded to that. Because getting taken off at halftime, we were losing the game, but it does say that we need something different. And he was the player that was replaced. And that must have been quite damaging for him, given he's such a mainstay in the team. Not only he came back and scored against Villa and put in another outstanding performance everywhere. He's absolutely everywhere. Pitbull. And the Leeds one for me is just insane. First of all, that chance in the first half, we haven't even spoke about it. How did that not go in? Great defending on the line. So that's just really unlucky. But I remember someone tweeting, I think it was Harry Fremantle who tweeted it after the game. He was like, what position does Harrison Reed play? He's a sitting midfielder, but he's on the wing for almost over half the game. It's incredible. And sometimes you think, okay, this player doesn't have an awful lot of pace. Why put him out on the wing? It's because he creates and he drives forward. And I remember specifically when we went 1-0 down to Stoke last season and in the first minute. And a minute later, Harrison Reed's the man who's driving the ball forward and he plays it to Muniz. Or he might have got the pre-assist. I think he might have got the assist. Muniz turns.
I think he got the assist, yeah.
And we go on and win the game 3-2. That assist for Willian is as good as you're ever going to see in the Premier League. Beats one, then takes that little touch away to get away from, I think, Luke Ayling, pulls it back, and it's perfect for Willian. He's running onto it. But his overall play was brilliant. Absolutely phenomenal. And England, Qatar. If you're talking right now about a central defensive midfielder, I thought Declan Rice last night was really good for West Ham, and he's been really good this season. Calvin Phillips is still injured. And I'm trying to think of others now. Obviously, he's got to be in the question for at least the 55-man squad provisional, which, by the way, is so stupid. 55 to whittle down to 26.
I mean, 55-man squad, Jack, I'm starting to think that me and you might have a chance of getting in there. Do you know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder how many Fulham players could get in. But in terms of Oh, everyone's thing is that people who only indulge themselves in top 6 teams will watch this, if they do watch this, and go, "What are you talking about?" But watch his performances. Watch what he can offer to this England team. A bit of bite in midfield, wing play, someone who can literally grab the game by the scruff of the neck and
Yeah.
drive us forward in the time of need. I don't expect he'll start, but he could genuinely be on the plane to Qatar. And I think Southgate needs to get himself down to Craven Cottage on Saturday and watch him.
Yeah.
Honestly.
100%. I just hope we don't play like England on Saturday because that would be very boring. Jack, I reckon it's nearly time to come on to the Everton game, but have you got any final thoughts on Leeds in particular?
Not on Leeds.
Or on just Fulham as a whole at the moment? Anything else?
I just wanted to say something briefly, and it's a dig at Scott Parker. We're basically...
No.
If you compare the squad we had... Okay, our squad from 2 years ago was quite different to the one we've got now, but there are a lot of players who were either in that squad or shunned and not played. We've now seen, let's just say it's 1.5. We've seen 1.5 teams in this Premier League defy... No, how do I explain it? So Scott Parker took over Bournemouth and everyone was like, they're going down. Parker goes and we're seeing Gary O'Neill. Okay, they've lost their last 2, but he went 6 unbeaten. Get something. So basically what I'm saying is that Parker's been shown up to be a really bad manager, at least managing a group of players in the Premier League and restricting their qualities.
That's what I was going to say. Like, it's shown that these squads could have been taken further. And that was our main gripe 2 years ago. It wasn't necessarily that we went down. You know, we weren't fantastic by any stretch of the imagination, but we all knew that we had so much more potential than we even tried to show. We didn't try and show personality. And that's what I love about Marco Silva. He's so brave. He says after the games, which I love, we were the best team on the pitch. And he's not lying. He's not wrong. He's not biased. We were the best team on the pitch again. And it's great seeing us do this. One final point from me on Leeds. One player that's not on the plane for Qatar, Luke Ayling. You can stop doing that guitar thing now, mate, which you was doing 2 years ago with your stupid long hair.
That goal didn't count, by the way.
That goal didn't count. That was very funny. Sadly, we did go on to lose the game, which was heinous. But, yeah, I thought Willian put on a show, and it wasn't just down to Luke Ayling. Another fantastic performance from him.
Yeah. One last question. It's this is quite a pessimistic question. It seems now that going into the World Cup, and I always said this to everyone I met, as long as we're not in the relegation zone in the World Cup, I'm happy. And it seems as though we're not going to be. Would you agree?
Yeah. Well, the teams in the bottom 3 now are on 9 points, right?
Yeah.
So if they were to win their 3 games, they would match our points tally. So for us to be in the bottom 3, we would need to lose our next 3. And one of those sides would need to win all 3 games. I can't see it happening. It's not out of the question that we might be a little bit lower down. But to preempt your question, Jack, I don't think we will be. And I think that's huge because January is a time to reinforce. I know we've got a couple of games before the window opens just after the World Cup. But from a mentality point of view, not ideal that we've got City and United, both tough games beforehand. You know, we could easily perform very well and it be 2 losses, for example. We know that we're not going to be in a horrendous position and somewhere that we can really build upon in the second half of the season.
I don't think anyone will begrudge if we lose to both Manchester United and Manchester City. They're just better teams than us. But the point tally we've already accumulated has given us a comfort blanket. And I said this early in the season when we had like 9 points or 8 points. But now we're genuinely going into a month break. We're sitting in a situation where we could be sitting comfortably mid-table and we can just relax and just enjoy the World Cup. And obviously Marco Silva within that time will be planning potential January moves. I'm sure we'll come on to it in the next few weeks. Joe, let's talk Everton then.
Let's talk Everton. And before we get into it, we're going to show you our BetMate teams for this weekend where there is a Fulham versus Everton pot because it's a 5:30 game. So that's £750 pot if you were the one of the top scorers. Hopefully we will be. Jack, whose team do you want to show first? Do you want to show yours?
Let's do yours first.
Let's do mine first. Okay, let's do it. Here we go. So Everton been quite solid, actually, not conceded too many. So I've gone with Pickford and Cody reluctantly. I also think Cody is a set-piece threat, and I do still think we could get a bit better at defending those. I've gone for Iwobi as well. He's had a fantastic season so far, and I've told you that I've got Arsenal connections through my girlfriend and her family. I do wish Iwobi well, and I'm quite glad to see him playing well. I hope he doesn't on Saturday, but had to include him after his great performance against Crystal Palace. Pereira captain after his fantastic performance on the weekend. Mitrovic vice. Robinson and Willian. I really think that Robinson's going to start getting some assists and goals for us soon with the positions he's getting in. And Willian at the moment, I can't look against him. What about you, Jack?
This is my team. I've gone with Bernd Leno in goal. Another fantastic performance against Leeds. Made a couple of pretty crucial saves at a crucial time. I've actually gone two Everton defenders, which sort of is counterproductive because I want obviously Fulham to win. Therefore, they're going to concede. Therefore, I'm not going to get enough points to get any sort of return. But I've gone with James Tarkowski and Mykolenko. I've been impressed with both of them this season. And obviously, the result of the weekend for Everton was very, very good. Can they build on that? Hopefully not. João Palhinha, he's the best I've seen. And he plays in midfield for the Whites. João Palhinha, congratulations to him and his wife.
Yes.
She gave birth, I think, yesterday or today. Which is obviously great news for him and his family, good news for Fulham fans. It means that he will obviously probably still be in contention to play on Saturday. Andres Pereira, absolutely incredible. Couple of assists on Sunday. He's got to be in my team. He's my vice captain. And obviously up front, Mitrovic, goal scorer, 9 goals so far this season. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I've gone up front. He scored at the weekend against Palace, a really nice goal. And it's good to see him back playing football because he had a couple of really shocking injury issues as well. So that's our team for that game against Everton on Saturday. And also there's a little offer as well. So every new user gets a free-to-play £100 pot on sign-up. Joe, your thoughts of this game, the team news and score prediction?
Yeah, I guess the only team news that we're waiting for from a Fulham point of view is Tete and whether he's back. I thought Bobby Reid had another good game. It was a bit tricky for him in the first half at times against Sinisterra, but that's just a very good player. If Tete's back, I would like to see him start, and if he's properly back fit, just because I feel so much more secure defensively with him in the team. I think the only other question mark would be on, well, firstly, who would come in, because obviously Bobby Reid would then have to either go forward slightly more or be benched. I'm not sure if we drop Wilson or Willian, which would mean that I guess Bobby Reid would be benched. So wait to see if that's actually fair to do. The only other question I was going to say would be on Diop and whether he would come back in, whether you think Tosin's warranted enough to stay. I've got to admit, I don't like the constant, it's happened a couple of times over recent weeks, chopping and changing of centre-backs. I like to stick with it. I'd be happy to see Diop come back in. I have a feeling that it wasn't performance-based, that he was excluded the other day. I feel like it was maybe a fitness thing. So I would like to see Diop back in after those 3 games in a week. What do you think, Jack?
You know what? I hadn't even considered the fact we played Thursday and then we play Sunday, and that's the reason Tosin came in. So you're right, and I think Diop will come in then. In that case, if Tete's ready, play him. And it's harsh on Bobby D called over Reid because I reckon he'll get benched because of that. But he's a great impact player to bring on. Versatility, can play in defence and midfield. Or on the wing. So I think it would be Wilson, Pereira, Willian again, Mitrovic up front, Harrison Reid, Palhinha sitting, and then the back 4 that includes Diop and Ream. Watching the full access on YouTube, there's a Fulham player who I really want to go for a pint with, like if I could choose, and that is Anthony Robinson. He just seems like such a cool guy.
Yeah,
and he plays piano as well, which is great because I love.
Do you know what I loved from that video, Jack, was Shane Duffy, who is a lone player. I know he's out of contract, so he's technically not with Brighton anymore at the end of the season. But, he's come on off the bench. His opportunities and total minutes probably in the league is like 3 or 4 at this stage. Like, it's very limited. By the way, apologies. I know why my room's gone so dark. That's very bizarre. It's like I'm telling spooky stories.
It's Halloween.
Though. It's Halloween. You know what? I've done it deliberately, guys. Let's see if I can get that. That's a bit strange. Anyway, Shane Duffy's reaction at the final whistle when he's picking up Harrison Reed, he looks
Mm.
delighted. And I love to see it. I love the sort of camaraderie through our squad from players that aren't even so involved. And it's got to the stage where that Diop and Tosin thing, I don't think Diop would have been happy to be dropped, but I also think that he'd have been like, go on then, Tosin, let's see what you can do, because I feel like everyone's fighting towards the same goal. I have one more point on team news, is that I wouldn't be opposed at all to, if Tete was back, to putting Bobby Reed on the right wing and having Wilson come off the bench, purely as we are slowly but surely getting him back from injury.
Yeah.
I think you could tell that he's still not 100% sharp, and Bobby's been sharper recently. But yet to wait and see. I'd be happy with anything. As for Everton, they've been doing okay. They had a little slump recently where they lost a couple, but a great response from them against Crystal Palace, as you said. Some very dangerous players in attack in terms of Calvert-Lewin, Gordon, Iwobi, if you count him, Morpay, who we nearly signed. I'm confident. My score prediction for this one is 2-1 to Fulham, but I would not be surprised at all if it's very, very tight and very cagey, this one. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, confidence is high in the Everton camp. And I think our home form's been really good and really important this season. Just the one loss, of course, to Newcastle. Obviously, we've only failed to score in one game. That was Wolves away.
Yeah.
It's one of those games where it could go either way. And I think that Fulham, based on their home form, have enough to win this game. And I completely respect Everton. I think they're actually much better, in a much better place than they were a year ago. I'm going to say 3-1 to Fulham, with us sealing it in the last minute through Tom Cairney off the bench.
Tom Cairney off the bench. Fantastic stuff.
I was going to just say one more thing about Fulham, but it completely slipped my... Oh, I can't remember. I cannot remember. Well, this has been the Jack and Joe show. Guys, this is incredible. I said this the other day. This is something we've been sort of craving for like almost 9-10 years. Stability in the Premier League. And obviously, we're not there yet, whatever. We're only 18 points in, but the trajectory of this season, the potential it's got, is very good. But let's not count our chickens yet. We know the quality the Premier League has, and you can go on a 4 or 5 game run with no win. Suddenly, it starts to get quite bleak. But we're really enjoying the ride. Joe, how have you found this season so far?
Above all, really fun. And that's not something I'm used to saying about Fulham in the Premier League, because we both said that in previous years, it's been quite bleak. And we've always maintained that winning a game in the Premier League feels fantastic and so much better than winning even a crucial game in the Championship. The acclaim you get and the eyes that you have on you and the pressure to win is very different. And it's been so fun. And it's been so good to see us being competitive, proving everyone wrong. Every player that's meant to be a flop, Willian, Pereira, for example, they've done fantastically well. They made everyone eat their words, and I hope we continue to do so. But no matter what, even if we start to drop off a bit, as long as we stay up, I'm happy with this season, and I'm so pleased with how we've performed.
For a team who's sitting 7th in the Premier League, we're not getting the media attention
We're not.
that I would have thought, but that's fine by me, going under the radar. If Nottingham Forest were sitting in 7th, I'm sure we'll be seeing a completely different media reaction. That's my take on things, but we shall see in the coming weeks. This has been the Jack and Joe show. Joe, so thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jack. Thanks everyone for watching and for your continued support, and fingers crossed for a good result on Saturday.
We're loving life. We're going to be back on Wednesday to, preview Manchester City away at
That'll
the
be fun.
Etihad. Yes, I'm very much looking forward to going up to Manchester. Come on, Fulham. We shall see you there on Wednesday. Let's hope for a great result against the Toffees. Come on, Fulham.